award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today, and as you can see, we're not in Studio B at our Nashville headquarters. We're in Clarksville today at Troy Manufacturers, manufacturers of rifles, AR platform rifles, and a lot of cool guns. So today we're going to be talking with Steve and Tracy Troy, and we also have Jim Cucarudo with us today. He's with Outdoor Stewards of Conservation, and we're going to be talking about all things conservation, all things shooting. It's going to be a fun time, and I appreciate you guys being with us.
Thank you.
All right, good to be here.
Thanks for having me in your manufacturing facility here in Clarksville. This is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We just had a chance to tour the facility, which helped me out today because I'm not an AR guy. I've shot a few, but I learned a lot today, and it's cool to see how these guns come together and the quality of what y'all put together. But it didn't start here, did it, Steve?
No.
Tracy? Y'all are from Massachusetts, right?
Correct.
And that's where the company started. Tell us a little bit about how Troy became what it is today and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. We started the company in 2003. This is our 20th year in business. I was a career police officer, state trooper, and I was in the military reserve, and I had a lot of exposure to problems that were occurring in modern fielded arms on that side. I also had an interest in all things mechanical. My dad was a mechanic all my life, had a gas station, and at 6 and 7 years old, I was replacing car parts. At 12, I was a friend of his was a gunsmith in Simsbury, Connecticut, and I did an internship with him. And I just have always had an interest, and I like to create. So I started Troy Industries in 2003 with our folding battle sight. That was really as a result of a deployment I went on and saw what was issued, and it was terrible. A lot of duct tape holding them up. There's nothing to keep them up when they were there. One aperture, and so I went to work on designing it, and we designed it, and it was all part of the newly formed Department of Homeland Security had a tunnel fighting team, and they had came to us, and you'd met earlier on the tour Jeff Peterson. Jeff worked for a company called RD Systems in South Beloit, Illinois, and they were working on an M14 program. So this was right about 2001. They invited me to come in as a consultant because I had some strong opinions on it. They thought that does make sense. We ended up developing the SOPMOD M14 and finally getting it into market. 2003, I formed the company around it, and that was a suppressed rifle that was about 22 to 23 inches long, had a suppressor, and it was something that was designed for mainly Special Forces personnel. It was done under contract for Crane, which is a Naval Surface Warfare Center. So Jeff and I worked together then, and basically since then I've been trying to hire Jeff. And finally, when we moved to Tennessee, he'd always said he wanted to retire in Tennessee. And I said, hey, Jeff, why don't you come run my shop? And we got him down here, and we're working together. He's head of manufacturing. He's one of the best 3D machinists in the world. He carves out of 3D machines, life-size human beings to Michelangelo standards, horses, tires, race cars out of stainless steel. It was an artist that came to him, and they hired him to do all the work, but he is unbelievably talented, and our suppressor line shows that. So we started in Massachusetts in my basement, quickly moved, realized that we had need for some space. I rented some space in Lee, Massachusetts, outgrew that. And for the first 5 years, I was, using my state police money to pay my one employee and try to grow it, and then take every product that got sold, all the money would roll back in to make more product. And that grew the company to where we needed more space. We moved to West Springfield. Smith & Wesson was a very big client of ours. They hired me as a consultant to lay out their M&P rifle line. So they came out with the M&P T tactical. We nicknamed Troy just because it had our rail and sights on it, and the X series. And that was big OEM business for us, and that's got it started. So 3,500, we doubled it to 7,000 shortly thereafter. We picked up Ruger. We were doing all the rails and sights, 360 a day of rails and sights for their newly released AR-15 program that they had up there. And that was another boost. So that dictated, hey, we really need space now. So we found a 45,000 square foot facility about 2 miles from where we were located, and we purchased it and we moved in. We resided there up until 2 years ago, and the state of Massachusetts had started talking about banning the manufacturing of semi-automatic rifles. And, the taxes up there, the politics. It really wasn't a friendly state. The weather, and we had gotten a significant foreign military deal that was very, very large, and probably the biggest that we had ever gotten. And it came down to that all of our paperwork was in, and we needed a letter from the government of that nation for approval. And the letter is antiquated, but the State Department required it. So we started calling politicians and saying, hey, we need help with this. So in the meantime, we sent somebody over to get that letter, and they were asked for a bribe, and a very large bribe. So we said, this isn't working. So we started calling politicians, hey, we need help with this. We think this letter can get bypassed because it's redundant. It's not necessary. Not a single return phone call from over 20 politicians in the Northeast. So a friend of mine overseas recommended I contact Mark Green, and I didn't know who Mark Green was. It turns out he's the congressman for Middle Tennessee, 7th District.
There you go.
Within 15 minutes, we were talking to Mark on an app and then on the phone, and he arranged for us to meet with the IDB. The IDB in Clarksville put together an entire team of over 30 people to meet with us when we came here. And that night, Mark had us over his house and cooked us dinner. And I realized, and Tracy realized at that time, we're home. So that's what got us here. The deal went into Staleville it's just now rewarming now through a different avenue, but it showed us that, having somebody that I can actually contact from the government that will actually return a call. That's all I needed was a return call. And, we pulled out, and we had done probably $250 million worth of business in Western Massachusetts, and we were a major employer. Our height, we were at like 112 people up there. So you'd think it would be significant enough to at least return a phone call. And, we're the right people doing the job. A big part of our business is law enforcement, government work. We do business in about 46 countries, and that includes NATO forces that are from those countries. So we're the right people doing the right thing, and still could not get that return call. And that's what led us here. And we bought a farm and moved the factory. 37 tractor trailers later, we're operating in what you saw today with all brand new machinery and a brand new team. We have retained, I think, 8 people from the last workforce. Our Massachusetts people actually came down, the key people, to help train the replacements. A lot of them had been with me for more than a decade. It was very sad to see them go, but they weren't in a position where they could move down here. But almost all of them I've extended opportunity. Like, if you ever change your mind and you want to come down here, we'd love to have you.
Wow.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
You answered just about every question I had. But just to know that you've brought, 75 plus jobs?
It will be when it shakes out. Like, when we were touring, we had done a lot of things to prepare for the move because we knew it would be chaotic for at least a year. It wasn't that bad, but like sewing, we had 5 full-time sewers and a supervisor.
Okay.
We have not started sewing yet again because we had enough inventory. Now that inventory is diminished, so we've got that starting back up, and we'll be adding sewers. We've got our robotic welding cell that's coming in. That's going to be 2 people on that. We've got a Cerakoting operation. That's another at least 1 person day shift, possibly second nights. So we'll probably exceed the 75. That was the threshold that our incentive program from the state of Tennessee and TVA and the IDB was triggered on. But we comfortably have always run about 80 to 84 people. It's just we didn't expect, initially when we announced the move, we had about 30% of our workforce interested. We had an older workforce. Everybody wants to go down south, retire in south, better weather, that kind of thing. But it ended up coming down to like 6 people. So it reset us a little bit in how we thought about what operations are we going to do and what can we do best. And that's why we decided on, instead of the Milterns, which we were strong on Eurotechs, we had, I think, 7 Eurotechs running pretty much 3 shifts, 5 days a week up there. There's no one down here that can run those. So we sold those. It was the height of COVID. So people were paying more than retail for used machinery.
Wow.
And we ordered all brand new American-made Haas machines. And it turns out that, we did that knowing that TCAT right down the street is like at less than a mile from here, and they train on Haas. and we've been able to grab a few of their last couple classes honor graduates, and they're working here, and they bring so much to the table. TCAT is an unbelievable program. We've partnered with them on our recruitment efforts, and we send our people down there on a regular basis for job fairs and meeting the students.
So you got American-made guns on American-made machines in America.
We do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tracy, I'm sure you just hang back and watch things happen. But no, you're probably the brains of this, aren't you?
No, I just help out. I run the sales department, help out with operations, support him. Steve is, this is his passion. He is probably top 5 people doing this in this country.
Definitely
ever.
I can see that.
And so I'm here to support him.
Yeah.
You love Tennessee just as much as he does?
It's home. It's definitely home.
Yeah.
This is where this will be our final resting place.
Not too soon.
Not for a long
No.
time.
Not too soon.
But to add to that, though, when I had met Tracy, she was vice president of commercial sales of alternative energy sources for large businesses, such as mine. She had proposed a solar project for my factory. She didn't get the project, but she got me. But she was from a much bigger industry than what we're doing here. But I had asked her, could she please come on board and staff? She was vice president of sales there, knew what she was doing, and she has completely redid our staff. I know you've met Patrick several times and worked with him in the past as well. We have just an all A player team that falls
Patrick's
under
the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to get away from him?
Not Tennessee. I meant all of us.
Yeah.
We tried to get Patrick to move.
Yeah.
I want to touch on Jim here. Tell us about yourself and kind of how you fall into this whole thing and why you're here in Tennessee this week.
Sure. I've been in the outdoor industry for about 13, 14 years. Worked for the trade association of the industry, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, did a lot of research, talked about how to recruit new people into the sport, and it all centers around conservation. And I was very fortunate enough to work with the industry side of things, the Troys of the world, and the agency side of things, the TWRAs. So, I ended up starting my own nonprofit organization about 2 years ago, Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation, and that's our goal. Is we want to recruit new people into the outdoors, new hunters, anglers, and target shooters, and we call them hats because I don't like to say hunters, anglers, target shooters all day long.
Yeah, that's perfect.
We've got about 60 million hats out there, and those folks are the people buying the product, and there's a big cycle of how conservation works. So you get a quality product from World of Troy, the customer buys that product, and then a portion of that, about 10% of that, goes back to the state agencies, so TWRA can do all the awesome work that you guys are doing. Yeah. So we love to make the connections here and love to see their factory tours, and then we'll get these guys out in the field with you guys, show them where that money goes.
Yeah. It's amazing. Folks don't know how agencies are funded like TWRA, and you buy a rifle like this or ammo or things that you take hunting and use in hunting and fishing, it all comes right back to the agency and millions of dollars that we can put back into conservation.
Right. Yeah, when we're walking around the facility there, you use these firearms for a lot of purposes: home protection, personal protection, recreational shooting, competitive shooting, collecting, hunting. A lot of people use the AR platform for hunting. Yeah. But I'm thinking, man, that's conservation. I see those firearms and I look at conservation because the checks that Steve and Tracy write to the Tax and Trade Bureau for those excise tax dollars, again, they go back to really the main support funder of conservation, along with hunting and fishing license sales, and not just conservation, but range development as well, because a lot of those people buying these firearms like to go out and do recreational shooting. So TWRA is one of the top, if not the top state for providing recreational activities for those hats. So thank you, and thank you guys. I love being here and seeing this all.
Yeah, Tennessee is a great place to live, and we love guns. We love shooting. There's a lot of ranges across the state, particularly here in Montgomery County. We've got a range here, Montgomery County Shooting Complex, that's going to be receiving millions of dollars of improvements here in the next few years, and it's just a great place to be and a great place to shoot and get outdoors. And it's not always the hunter. There's a recreational shooting out there that happens, and we're excited about the future investments in shooting sports and here in Tennessee. So, well, and while we're on with you, Jim, do you want to touch on the Fill a Bag program and what this is here in front of us? And then I want to dive into these guns. I want to
For sure, yeah. So
behind the scenes look here.
I did a lot of research, millions of dollars worth of research over the past decade. and we really wanted to find common ground. What does everybody, what can get us together, the hats and the non-hats, and the main connection was conservation, right? Nobody wants dirty water. Nobody wants air pollution.
Right.
Nobody likes litter bugs, right? So we want to promote the fact that those hats are the primary funders and stewards of conservation. And one of the ways we did that was through engaging those customers by providing them with these biodegradable bags. So we call the program Fill a Bag While Filling Your Tag. And what we do is we give these bags out to hats all across America and ask them when they're out in the field, on the water, at the range, and they see a piece of trash. It could be a Mylar balloon that floated in from somebody's wedding 10 miles away.
Milk jugs.
Right, milk jugs. I mean, little bottles, those single-shot bottles of alcohol lighters. I mean, the little plastic is worse than the big plastic in a lot of cases. So nobody's outside more than those hats. They spend 1.2 billion days outside hunting, fishing, or target shooting. They're always outdoors. They're deep into nature. And when they come across an old beer can or an old plastic bottle, stop for a second, put it in their bag, take it out of the woods and waters with them. And we know through research that about 92% of hats have already done that. They do it on a consistent basis, but we want them to get credit, right? We want to show how we are the stewards of conservation. So we ask them to snap a photo with their bag, with their trash, and put it on their social media. And again, TWRA is leading the way with that.
That's what I like to see. You got TWRA logo here, Troy logo.
So again, it's a partnership between the industries and the agencies. So, Troy customers will get these with every firearm
purchase, we stick one in their box.
Awesome.
Sure. So there's a little QR code. They play the video, explains on what to do with them. And again, it's a great program, and we've got great partners with TWRA and Troy and a lot of other folks on board with these, but it gives a good name to people that are outdoors, and it explains that story. And especially when you're trying to introduce somebody new, and you're talking about why you like being outdoors, why you like being a gun owner, you can tie in that conservation aspect of it, because again, that's something that goes across all different types of folks. Everybody wants to keep a nice, clean environment.
I've always said, keep Tennessee beautiful. I think that was a slogan at one point, or something I saw, or a t-shirt, and I was like, get that trash out of Tennessee. All right, well, let's jump into these guns. And first off, it's not just AR platforms. Y'all are in other platforms as well, or looking to be, right?
Well, we accessorize other platforms as well. Anything that's really operating in NATO and now some former Warsaw Pact countries like Ukraine and the areas around there, we're accessorizing and modernizing their fleet of firearms.
Gotcha.
There's a big interface. I brought one with a laser. We provide a lot of electro-optics on our foreign military support, and there's also other countries that produce that, but they need to be able to interface with the firearm, and it gives them a better targeting ability, vision ability, but they need to have an interface that'll accept it. So the standard interface, as we know, is the 1913 rail. There's also the Stanag rail, which is a little bit different, that runs in Europe. We make both, and that allows us to be able to provide maybe firearms at one point, but normally it starts with the accessories first. And they say, all right, well, these guns have reached their service life. We're looking to replace them. So we had a really big contract in Colombia with the Colombian National Police. Same thing. We did thousands of conversion kits of buttstock, magazines, upper receiver group. And then they came back to us for full rifles afterwards, because they had just, as they go through the fleet and they find that service life is being exceeded, they're not head spacing properly anymore. It's time for rifles. So it's a way we build rapport with the client, and then we'll be able to offer other things. Most of our firearms that you see here, these are law enforcement military style firearms. Our civilian or our commercial or Patriot type rifles fall along this line here. This one just came back from a show. It doesn't have a bolt in it, so for safety.
We're all safe here, yes.
Yeah. This is actually the 2023 Tennessee Sheriff's Association rifle. We got selected this year by TSA to provide the rifle for them.
Very cool.
It's also, this is our billet machined upper and lower. It takes a lot longer to make billet, but the tolerances are much better because you control all the surfaces. Normal rifles would have a forged upper and lower. So our law enforcement patrol rifles are very similar to this, except they're black, and the receivers are your traditional with the forward assist and all that. But these are a special set, again, for a special organization. So this year we've done some cosmetic changes as well as functional changes. We've now standardized with our S7 tool steel disconnectors that we wire EDM, which we showed you the process in the factory. It provides plus or minus zero tolerances on these disconnectors that make sure that we have a reliable and safe trigger group. We've also moved to the B5 Bravo stock and the Ergo grip, a nickel Teflon trigger and hammer set that go with our Super Duty disconnector.
And all these are made in-house, right?
Yeah. What you'll see running out there, you saw the handguard running today.
Yeah.
You saw the remnants of running the lowers last week. We already ran our lowers.
Right.
We ran our uppers, our charging handles, our front and takedown pins, hammer pins, disconnectors, magazine releases, safeties, buffers, flash suppressors, gas blocks.
Is there anything
sights? Well, we run barrels when we have to, but we've started with 20 different vendors of barrels, and we bring them through our quality control. And we ended up finding 5 vendors of barrels that can meet our standards. We're an ISO 9001 company. We have AQL standards we have to follow with everything that comes in here, whether we make it or somebody else. And we were able to identify these 5 companies that are making superior product. We could do it on our machines as well, but we have other things that we need to be running on those machines. And barrels are pretty harsh operation. Bolt assemblies, the other thing is we make our sporting rifles, our sight action, our pump action, bolt carriers, and sometimes the bolts. But we have a vendor that does our bolt carrier assemblies, that does a lot of the big guys that you'd know as well for the military. And we've had excellent quality. They're absolutely the experts in the bolt carrier group. So we pay for quality to make sure that it lines up with the standards that we have at our rifles. The flash suppressors, you saw the machines that those turn on. We've done a lot of these. We call it the CQB flash suppressor, and it just has a series of teeth on it. It allows a less than lethal option if somebody approaches you and you got a rifle out. It's hard to get to a handgun or to OC or pepper spray. It's been popular. It makes a 14-inch barrel into a 16-inch barrel because we pin and weld a lot of police departments and also patriots. They don't want to have to deal with NFA paperwork. So by providing something that's absolutely compact and still not within the NFA, they're allowed to have something that's a little bit more handier than a full-size rifle. And then the color you see on this, of course, is a Cerakote color. It's OD green. That's what the Sheriff's Association had chosen. Our standard, of course, is hardcoat anodized black. We also run Cerakote and gray, flat dark earth, a coyote brown or Troy brown that you see there. And this is the example of the flat dark earth. So that's our rifle system. We've got several different types of grips that we make for the front here as well. These are the slings that we sew. We're about to get our sewing back going again. We haven't run it since Massachusetts, but we were doing about just under 300,000 slings a year. We had some OEM work that we were doing as well as our own. So that's something we're going to be getting back into. Also, along with that, these are our suppressors.
The technology behind these are cool. I love it.
So we started doing suppressors when I was with Jeff at RD Systems. RD had the SOPMOD contract to do the Arctic Warfare Rifle or SOPMOD M14, and it was part of the MDNS contract back in like 2001. So they were, at the same time, they had been making suppressors for a company called Ops Inc. or Phil Seeberger. So Ops, that relationship went away, and I said, we can probably do this better. And we started looking at the technology. And at the time, RD was doing a tube suppressor. So back in 2008, we designed a suppressor with no outer tube and patented it. We're the first ones in the world to do that. And I was told that, everybody that we talked about it was like, this will never work. You're going to blow through the weld. The pressure can't handle it. And I had an engineer. His name is Dave Hughes. He still works part-time for us. He's probably on 60 of our patents. He's a genius. He's still up in Massachusetts. Firefighter and engineer, and just is just a smart guy. He's like, we're going to weld these together. You don't need the outer tube. I was like, can't be done. I was under the mantra, like, can't be done. He says, what? Yeah, you can do it. We'll do it. So we did it, and then started testing it on 240 machine gun, or 249 on the 5.56, and things weren't coming apart. And we started doing it where now we do robotic welding and an X-ray examination of it, so we know where our welds are. But they're indestructible. But what the big primary differences on most suppressors that are on the market today is that these actually go back over the barrel. And our muzzle device is a chambered brake that forces all the energy as it comes out, the gases, to the back of the can, which initiates your first shear of those gases off of the back of that bullet. And then the baffles, what we patented, are how they share air between chambers. So when you put this on the end of the gun, the end of the flashlight, this isn't the muzzle device for it, but this is how far it goes on to the gun. Actually, it goes back to here. So you're only increasing the length of the gun by about 3.5 inches, but your suppression level is much lower than most of the common suppressors. Like the US SOCOM suppressor is the Surefire. This suppressor is almost 10 dB quieter and has less presentation out the muzzle, but it's the technology that's in it. We've increased the wall. So by decreasing the wall thickness of that outer tube, we've added more airflow inside, and we've also brought it out to 1.67 as opposed to the normal 1.5 inches. So really, it's about airflow and about eliminating as much back pressure as possible by the way the air flows through the can. So that's been very successful for us. This is the 308 version here, and again, an example, this is our Gen 1 suppressor direct thread. This is on a 20-inch barrel. That's 2 inches longer than this gun. It's an 18-inch barrel. So what we've done is we've been able to take this suppressor and add to the ways that I talked about, and then bring it back over the barrel. So again, when this goes on this firearm, it's coming back to here.
Wow.
So I've got an overall shorter presentation, and this suppressor is 120.8 on one. We've done dB testing twice on this, where we brought out all the things, 120.1 and 120.8, and I think it was an ammunition variant. And we were asked before, like, what's an unsuppressed firearm? Well, that's subjective. An unsuppressed firearm with a square muzzle face and an unsuppressed with that chambered brake, there's going to be a significant difference when we're placing the meter off the muzzle. So we look at what degree of suppression does it bring it to, and this is bringing it down to between 120.1 and 120.8.
Wow.
The Omega suppressor series, which I've used a lot of, those are 128. So that's probably the best one that we've seen in comparison, and it really is the technology of being back over the barrel and flowing through. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. The technology is crazy, and the work that y'all do here is amazing.
Thank you.
Just going through the facility, seeing all this come together, seeing them, together as a whole, the quality, the safety, the reliability. You mentioned you can sleep at night because you know what's coming off the line in your facility.
Yeah,
that's great. Check them out. worldoftroy.com on the website. Follow them on social media. Do you know what's your social media handles?
Troy Industries.
Troy Industries on social media. Follow them there. Check them out. I appreciate the tour today. Jim, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you want more info, outdoorstewards.org or at Outdoor Stewards on Instagram.
Awesome. Any final words?
I appreciate you all taking the time to come out and see us here and spread the word that we're actually here, made in Tennessee, made in America. Every part of this firearm is 100% American made, even the nylon that the raw material, it's all here from the U.S.
Awesome. That shows in the quality and reliability. That's great. I think it's awesome. Get out, start shooting. Enjoy Tennessee. Get outside. If you're looking for a hunting and fishing license, go outdoorstennessee.com. If you're looking for some TWRA swag, shop.gooutdoorstennessee.com. And we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.